This week at Morning Glory Motorsports, can we finally turn this thing into a roller? I hope. I'm tired of it being on this lift. So before we can make it a roller, there's quite a few things that I want to get done. First, containment pans underneath engine and transmission. I make them two separate ones because when we get back to the pit, we like to take the transmission one down and put a fan on the torque converter. That's because it's probably, I don't know, the same temperature as the surface of the sun when you get back, especially on a turbo car. And they catch all the fluid when one of these blows up. Not mod motor, just all race engines blow up. Burn down tank in the rear, and we'll get all of the plumbing for it on the interior sort of wrapped up. We're gonna put a dash in it. Love dashes in race cars. And we're gonna get all the brake lines in it. I'll show you the more of the billet pedals that we installed. Man, did this turn out sick. And then I'll show you the wheels. They look great on this car. So stay tuned. One thing I forgot to mention we were doing in this video is putting that metal on the transmission tunnel. Here's my dad and I fitting the last panel. The other two are already in. I just grabbed the camera now. I wanted to get this done before the engine and transmission go back in. Once we have the transmission tunnel pieces fitted, we're going to move on to getting the engine installed. Installing an engine with motor plate and mid plate is kind of easy when you make them easy to work on. Transmission has to go back in too. So this car is a 5.4 liter mod motor. Remember, or change the brakes. We like to just torture ourselves, I guess. So the engine's back in it. These are custom front plates that I made. Mod motor stuff is super weird. Depending on what timing cover you use, depends on what sticks out from it. So this is one from a GT500. This is where the pulleys would go for the supercharger. This don't have a supercharger anymore. You got to space these out. He had like a spacer and some washers. I added this spacer because that's the crank sensor and it's a pain to change. The more space you got, the better. So we're gonna make this one solid piece. So over to the trusty lathe we go. I have some 1-inch 6061 aluminum bar stock here. Just gonna drill it out for the two bottom ones are 10 millimeter. The four top holes are 8 millimeter holes. While I'm machining these spacers up, my dad is going to get the header off. I am going to be making custom headers now. Back over to the lathe, then we'll turn it down to the right length we need, and we'll make 5 more. All right. We've got all the spacers done. They look okay. I am no machinist. I took machining in high school when I was like 15 years old. And that's all I know. So just enough to be dangerous, I think. We'll get these installed. Now that is much easier than trying to hold a washer and spacers, huh? So let's go ahead and get the passenger side tightened up. Put the driver's side on. Now, as I was finishing these spacers up, I was having quite an issue with my lathe. All right. It looks like what's called a rack is missing some teeth, and it moves the carriage saddle back and forth. That gear is also missing some teeth. So my dad's going to get it torn apart, and while he's doing that, I'm going to get the removable transmission crossmember finished up, or tacked together at least. It is apart. This is the culprit. Well, this is too. So some of these teeth are flat and kind of gone, probably because of this piece. I've already started to cut it to try and fix it, but some of these teeth are laid over and broken. and was causing it to skip. So I'm gonna see if I can fix it, because I'm thinking that I'm not gonna be able to find parts for the old Ying. I got this shaft welded up. I guess we'll try and get the teeth all filed down to see if it works. And there we go. Well, we put it back together and it wouldn't move from about here to there. Now that you can kind of see that the teeth are real ground down there, so I'll try and build them back up and shape them like I did on the other thing. We're back, baby. She's got some hard spots, but it moves. Good enough for who it's for. So we're moving on to the drive shaft loop. I already have this measured out and I welded this together. So I like to put a piece of steel all the way around this that sticks out to attach the carbon to. So let's go ahead and get the removable loop tacked in. While we're here, we'll put a shifter mount onto it also. There it is. It's not perfect, but well, I don't know if I can get it in there. I have to go this way. Oh. There we go, carbon fiber transmission tunnel, shifter mount. Next on the list is containment pans for when this thing blows up. It's definitely not an if with these kind of cars, it's a when. So I use, this is 080 aluminum, I think. So we'll get this laid out, shear it, bend it, weld it up. So this little brake is definitely not made for something this thick, this long. If it was only like this, it'd do it with ease, but we gotta do a little modification to bend it the rest of the way. Well, now we gotta play around because this is too wide for the other side. We'll go ahead and get this last bend in it. Now let's get some tabs welded onto it. These tabs will have the Zeus fasteners built right in. If you don't know what a Zeus fastener is, it's like a quarter turn. And like I said, we like to take these pans down between rounds. While I'm doing that, my dad's getting the brake lines sorted. First we have to install the line lock. I put some rim nuts in the frame. My dad tightens it up. The Zeus tabs in. There is 1, 2, 3, 7 of them for the trans pan, and then it has to be bent up a little bit right here. But the main issue is because again, the pan sticks below, and I want this to be flat, and drop it down to clear this pan. And here's the transmission pan. It has the same Zeus fasteners holding it in. This has a bump down in the middle because the transmission pan sits below the frame rails. And there is a completely flat bottom. So if you've ever seen the underside of a supercar, they're completely flat. They had some really smart engineers figure this out. Anyway, that's the premise. You know, supercars are completely flat on the bottom. So this is what I call a burn down tank. It's for crankcase ventilation. We run these clear in the back, in the middle of the car. We make these big enough to hold a lot of oil. If you have a unexpected engine disassembly, sometimes you can put oil into these tanks. So we have to be able to drain. Most of the time it should just be vapor though. But this is just me showing it and I baffle it. So let me show you how I put one together. My dad continues on with the brake lines in the back of the car. Now I'll drill the holes for the inlet tubes. I keep these below the baffle. That keeps any fluid that goes in from being on top of the baffle. And then we'll go ahead and get the box welded out. As I'm getting this welded out, my dad's doing the hard lines from the remote reservoir to the top of the master cylinder and really admiring his own work. Now it's time to mount that burn down tank in the trunk. I get a little mount made up, welded in here. And that's just as my dad is finishing up the hard lines inside. Now he's going to move on to the rear end. There's the mount. There. Now I gotta put the carbon in, drill these holes, and a hole for the drain. All mounted up. This will go in here, and you can drain it. So I got the burn down tank in. Now there's a hole there. And if you remember me saying we're going to use the top double frame rail to get all that back here. So I welded a bead on that. To be able to capture the hose. I'm going to clean it up on the lathe. Cut this big hole, and I don't really want any of the shavings down in there. Now as I'm getting all these tubes welded in, my dad's working on the rear end brake lines. One last thing before we put the rear in this. So I've got the wheels and tires here. These are Billet Specialty Comp 5 15 by 13 with a 2-inch backspace. Look at that. We have a 275 on this wheel. And we are going to get a 15 by 14 for the 295 LDR tire. So to fit the wheels, all we got to do is put all of this stuff back in there, including that. So this go around, we are going to put the center section in so I can measure for a drive shaft. I've really worked myself into a lather here. So we're on to installing the spindles in the brakes. This is called a floater hub. And the idea, if you've put together the front end of like a Mustang or any older car, they have a spindle, which this is the spindle, and they have a hub that goes over it with the inner and outer bearing. I'll show you how to put this together. They send you all the tools to do it because the end piece is like a weird socket. Idea behind this is all this load from the tire gets distributed through the two bearings in this spindle rather than an axle shaft, and on the end of it, it could flex possibly. Trucks all have these, so they take a lot of power. So I've got everything that the kit comes with laid out here. These are carbon fiber. So these are carbon brakes. This is carbon fiber. And the brake pads are also what seem to be carbon fiber. So I put gloves on. I don't know if you need to handle them with gloves. Doesn't hurt, whatever. Here's that special tool I was talking about. And bearings and such. I left the other ones inside this because I've already mocked these up. So let's get these on. I know that the customer, I'm sure, is as excited as I am to see these wheels on this thing. So another big benefit of a floater is this cap goes on here with 3 Allen bolts. But if you want to change the center section, normally on a regular, 9-inch, you have to pull the brakes, gotta pull a wheel, gotta pull all that to get the axle shaft out to be able to pull the center section. So instead of undoing all that with the regular 9-inch axle, for this, all you gotta do is undo this cap. There's an axle shaft. Yeah, and you just pull it out. You leave tire, brakes, everything's still connected. Now you're ready to swap a center section. And here we go. Moment of truth. I don't know if it's gonna hit that light or not. I think we are looking good. Grab too many spacers. Oh, my extension's not long enough. Oh yeah. Tons of room in here. That looks sick. So, I'll know when I'll set it down, but I'm gonna do the other side the same, except for the brakes. I know they work now, so we'll get the other side on, get the front on, and set it down and see how it looks. I think we're gonna end it there. Looks good rolling. It weighs significantly less, but not everything's in it. So I have kind of a guesstimate of what all needs to go back in it. But burn down tank's done, pans are done. You know, a lot of the interior's done. But next week we're gonna build new headers. We're gonna adapt the single turbo setup to the new engine placement, and then it's time. It's time to tear it all apart, paint it, put it all back together. So I guess if you made it this far, thanks for watching.